been burned, I've been broken, still I rise, yeah, the story's been spoken. Every scar just shows what I came through. I'm stronger now, and I shine brand new. The climb was steep, but I held on tight. Step by step, I found my light. Shots fired, but I keep moving, turn the pace, steady grooving. From the ashes, I'm reaching high, altitude living, I'm touching the sky. Shots fired, but I keep moving, turn the pace, steady grooving. From the ashes, I'm reaching high, altitude living, I'm touching the sky. Not my trauma, not my.
Welcome back to The Rise from Ashes to Altitude, a living, breathing book tour based on my award-winning book, Shots Fired, A Heroine's Memoir. I'm your host, Tracy Lance, and through intimate conversations, behind-the-scenes storytelling, and powerful guest voices, we explore what it really means to rise from trauma, reclaim resilience, and turn wounds into wisdom. Each episode is a tour stop into a different part of the journey that takes us somewhere new, geographically, emotionally, spiritually, from fire and bullets to forgiveness and elevation. Our mission is to create a space where vulnerability is honored, healing is possible, and every listener is reminded your story carries strength, your voice carries truth, and your scars are no longer wounds. They're beauty marks of survival that make you bulletproof. Today, we sit here with the unforgettable Chicago skyline as our backdrop, a city that shapes you, stretches you, and never lets you forget where you came from. A city that teaches you resilience whether you ask for the lesson or not. Our guest today is Dr. Thelma Wiley Lucas, who grew up on the south side of Chicago by way of Mississippi as one of 19 children in a large, close-knit family rooted in faith, discipline, and resilience. The early lessons didn't just raise a child, they shaped a calling. Dr. Wiley Lucas went on to become a respected gastroenterologist in Carrollton, Georgia, dedicating her life to healing bodies and educating communities on stomach health, cancer prevention, and the importance of listening to what our bodies are telling us. In this episode, we explore how growing up in a full house taught her work ethic, compassion, and responsibility. How being one of many sharpened her ability to see the whole person, and how her roots continue to guide her work today as a physician, educator, and storyteller. Welcome, Dr. Wiley, to this first day of 2026. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me, Tracy, and Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. We stayed up all night partying all
We
night.
did.
So thank you for waking up early to have this podcast episode with me. So I introduced you as one of 19 children born in Mississippi and growing up in Chicago.
Yes.
One of 19 children.
Yes.
When you hear Chicago, what's the first memory that comes to mind for you?
Playing on the streets in the neighborhood, bunch of kids running around, a lot of
Yes,
our family.
yes.
But just, feeling love and warmth and family.
When you left Mississippi to come here, how old were you?
I was 7 years old.
7.
Yes.
And then do you have memories of growing up in Mississippi before you came to Chicago?
I do.
You
I
do?
do.
So you were the 18th child of
Yes.
19.
Yes.
So you had your siblings as your playmates. Like it was a whole playground in the backyard of your house.
Playmates and almost like another set of parents,
Yes.
because some of my sisters were old enough to have been parents.
Yes.
And helped with that as well.
Nice.
So interesting fun fact, my mother and her sister married my dad and his brother. So we have double cousins. That's what we call each other. So there were 19 of us and there were 16 of them. And they were also in Mississippi, our closest neighbors. And so you might imagine in the school, if a kid did something and they said it was Wiley, we always said it wasn't us. It was our cousins.
You You got us mixed up.
We got us mixed up.
Yes.
It wasn't Miss Wiley.
Yes.
But yes. So
What do you think made your parents decide to move to Chicago rather than any other place in the country?
well, for opportunity, and that also some of my older siblings had already started moving to Chicago, had migrated
Oh,
to
okay, yeah.
Chicago, and they had been telling my dad for some years, move the rest of the family here. There's jobs, there's opportunities, life is better.
Yes.
So they were really urging him to move, and eventually he did in
Yes.
1969.
Wow. So you got on the train. Was it a train? I read somewhere a train, a bus.
Well, a train in the fact that, there were multiple vehicles, but no, we were in cars.
It made me get the image in my head that he put all his kids on this train and said,
No.
we are moving to Chicago.
More like a motorcade.
Yes, yes. So when you got to Chicago, you were raised on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
What part of Chicago did you live?
So we lived in Roseland.
Roseland. I lived in
105th.
Roseland. Yes.
Yes, 105th and LaSalle.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So that was quite different. And we moved in the winter of 1969. And there was a big snow, and we had never seen snow before. So, there were just so many changes.
Was it magical
so
or was it?
It really was.
Was it?
It really was.
Yes.
I mean, I was one of the younger siblings. It probably wasn't as magical for the older ones.
Yes.
But it was fun. It was magical. It was so different than anything that we'd ever seen or experienced before.
Yes.
Really different.
That's so cool because Mississippi is really, really hot all the time.
Yes.
Then you come to Chicago in the depth of winter where it's snowing. And
Yes.
I would just imagine it's not, culture change, culture shock. But then with the weather, that's a whole different kind of shock.
Yes.
At what point did you end up enjoying the winter months, or did you say, I want to go back to the warm?
It was really, again, I was small child, so just the joy, the wonder.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun. It was so different. At the time that we moved to the South Side, there were a lot of families on the block, lots of kids. And so they're just, you had your siblings, but then you had a lot of other kids to play with.
Yes.
It was different because we were used to running around without shoes on unless we were going to church or going to school.
Yes.
And so that was a little different because the sidewalks of Chicago can be pretty hot in the summer with no shoes on.
Yes.
So, yeah.
How was it growing up in a family of so many siblings and children? Like, did you feel like you fit in or you were seen? Or did you have to, scream out for attention, or what was that dynamic like for you?
So for me, I did feel seen. Like I said, some of my siblings, my sisters were, older, and so it felt like you had another mom, you had another set of eyes, many more hands, looking after you, caring for you.
Yeah.
And so I did. I think some of my siblings that were in the middle maybe felt a little bit lost, at some times. But for me, it was just like more is more.
Yes.
Yes.
So
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I could imagine. So then how did you learn about like the importance of education? Was that taught to you by mom and dad?
Mm-hmm.
So once you got to Chicago, you realized, you went to high school here.
I did.
You went to medical school. You became a doctor here. You did all of your education here in Chicago.
Yes.
At what point in your childhood did you realize you wanted to become a doctor?
Oh, well, I was in high school. They had a program for kids that were interested in engineering. It was at IIT.
Okay.
And one of my counselors recommended that I go to this program. I didn't know what engineering was. I went to the program. It was every Saturday over the summer, your entire summer. Every Saturday, catching the L train to IIT.
Yeah.
And being in class and learning about engineering. And I hated it but I didn't want to tell my counselor because, back then, if an adult, if a counselor, somebody you trusted recommended something,
disrespectful.
You just went along with it.
Yeah.
And then, so we did that. The program was a success. So the following year, IIT decided they would do engineering, but they'd also have a program for kids that were interested in medicine. And I had never thought about medicine before that time. I knew I just hated engineering.
Yeah.
And it was the very first day of that next year. And I was so shy. I was so nervous, but I managed to just raise my hand and I said, is it possible that I can switch to the medicine program? And they allowed me to switch.
Good.
And I loved it.
Look where that led you now. So you are a gastroenterologist in Carrollton, Georgia.
Yes.
Why gastroenterology?
Well, so when I did my, you have to do your internship, residency, and all of that. So during my residency, there was a mentor. I didn't know the term, but there was one of the attending physicians that really took an interest in me and was helping to guide my career. And he happened to be a gastroenterologist because I thought I would go into OB or cardiology. And that's why. So it's important who's in your life, because you're definitely influenced. And that's how I became a gastroenterologist. I really just followed in his footsteps, but it was because he showed interest in me and just really tried to help me along in my career.
Yet you never know who you're going to influence. Now, I first met you because my mom was your medical assistant. And I'll never forget when Mom started at the University of Illinois, she used to tell us that she was working for the gastroenterology department, and we could not pronounce that word. And then we would call her at work, and she would be so well spoken. Department of Gastroenterology, to say that all day, every day. So gastroenterology is the study of stomach, the stomach health.
Yes, the intestines, the stomach, the liver, all of that is part of your GI tract.
Yes. So let's get into talking about you becoming a gastroenterologist. Before you were educated on becoming a doctor of gastroenterology, you thought you were going to be an OB-GYN. So what about stomach health drove you for that to become your passion?
So like I said, when you're starting out, there's so many different paths that you can take. It's all medicine, it's all the human body, and then you can specialize. And like I said, I just tended to follow this course, and it could have been anything, but I did. I really fell in love with liver disease, so that is my subspecialty.
Okay.
So I'm a gastroenterologist and a hepatologist, which is someone who studies liver disease, but that's sort of all lumped together. And I really, really had a love for that. I just fell in love with it.
Wow.
Just found it very interesting.
So then, as a physician, many people, we ignore gut symptoms and things that go on with our stomach, especially in our community. So when did you realize how serious and life-altering GI health can be?
So actually, I have personal experience because I do. Our family, we have a family history of colon cancer.
Okay.
And so when I was very young, there were a couple of my siblings who had developed colon cancer and had died from that. Now, I didn't understand it at that point, but then once I started going through my training, then I was really, really interested. I had a vested interest in finding out more, learning more, and then teaching more about GI diseases and specifically colon cancer.
Wow. So I read a lot of your Facebook posts, and you are an advocate for, for us finding out about what's really going on with our health, not ignoring certain symptoms that we experience. And I think one of the Facebook posts that you wrote was the most memorable, where you talked about certain cases that you had and how those cases were diagnosed as colon cancer patients because they were experiencing symptoms that they had ignored that turned into colon cancer.
Right.
I lost a nephew from colon cancer, and then there were symptoms that I believe were ignored. And then once he found out that he had the colon cancer, it was stage 4, and it was too late. What are some of those symptoms, or what are some of those things you think that people ignore that really should be looked at by a doctor and not the Google doctor?
Oh, Dr. Google. My favorite doctor to hate.
Yes.
I do. So one of the big things is blood in the stool. Like, it is never normal to have blood in your stool. And people will ignore it. They'll say, well, I was constipated, I was pushing, I was straining, it's probably my hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
And it may be. A lot of times it may be your hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
But anytime a patient mentions to me that they've seen blood in their stool, even if it's one time, I'm going to get you checked out. We're going to get a colonoscopy, and we're going to make sure. And then that way you can relax and say, okay, everything is fine, and you do have hemorrhoids. Or it could be colitis. It could be inflammatory bowel disease. It could be a host of other things that need to be treated differently. Rather than just assuming, you're going to take some preparation H or Dr. Google said this.
Right.
So that's a big thing. Unintentional weight loss. We all know how difficult it is to lose weight.
Yeah.
So when you're starting to lose weight and you're not trying to lose weight, that is a warning sign that something is going wrong.
Yes.
Get it checked out.
Yes.
Get that
then
checked
I
out.
read when you haven't had a bowel movement, like how long can you go that you could safely say I haven't had a bowel movement, but I'm okay?
So that's, each individual is different.
Yeah.
Most people will have at least one bowel movement a day. Some people will have 2 or 3, and that's nothing wrong with that. If you're going 2 or 3 days and not having a bowel movement, it could mean that you need extra fiber in your diet, more water, more exercise, that sort of thing. Now, I'll have patients that will come in and say, I have gone 2 weeks without a bowel movement. I haven't had a bowel movement in 3 weeks. There is a problem.
Yes.
There's an issue.
Yes.
That's not okay. It's not normal. Get these things checked out. That's considered a change in your bowel habits, especially if you were having regular bowel movements and now
they stop.
Right. Or your stools become very thin, like a pencil, skinny, flat, unusual shape. Or if you're usually constipated and now you have diarrhea.
Yes.
If your stools are usually normal, but now you're constipated. So any kind of change like that, abdominal pain, weight loss, blood in the stool, all of those are signs that something is going on.
Okay.
And I don't want to scare people and say like, oh, I have cancer, so now I'm not now I'm not going to get it checked out because I know it's something bad. But there's something going on.
Right.
So let's check it out. Let's find out what it is, and let's treat it. Early, even if it is cancer, the earlier we can diagnose it, the earlier we can treat it, the more treatment options are available.
Yes.
The earlier it's detected.
I'm glad you said that, because there are people who won't go to the doctor because they don't want to get a cancer diagnosis.
Yes.
They are afraid of what their prognosis might be.
Right.
And I'm glad to hear you say the reason why it's so important, even if it is cancer, the earlier you can catch it, the earlier it could be treated. But the more advanced it is, then there's
fewer
less options available. Why do you think communities of color are often diagnosed later? Is it because of what I just said? People are just afraid?
So a lot of it is fear. You'll have a lot of people too that will, they feel like they're not being listened to, or there's fear that they're not getting the same care.
Mm-hmm.
People will hearken back to the Tuskegee studies, those sorts of things.
Yes.
But again, we can't stay in that space.
Yes.
Yes, there are disparities in healthcare, but some of it is just us coming in late, just ignoring symptoms, being afraid, listening to our friends, listening to Dr. Google.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is that patients are just showing up later.
Yes.
And it's very sad when I have a patient who comes in and tells me that they've been intermittently passing blood in the stool for 6 months. And, I do a colonoscopy, and now you have this huge cancer that if 6 months ago, maybe it would have been very tiny, or maybe it would have just been a polyp that was benign that has now turned into to cancer. And that always saddens me when patients have symptoms and they've had them for so long and they told no one.
Yes.
That really makes me sad, because I feel like there was a chance there, a window of opportunity that we've missed.
Yes. Do you agree that colon cancer is one of the most treatable cancers?
Absolutely.
Like, it starts with like colitis or something like a polyp, and that could be just treated by surgical removal or whatever. But then when it goes ignored, it
grows, it multiplies, it turns, the cells can turn cancerous. So it's very treatable, and that's why it's recommended that we get screenings even before you're having any symptoms, because a lot of times you are not having any symptoms. We go in and you may have 3 or 4 polyps. I will remove those while I'm in there.
Oh, wow.
Done.
Yes.
Done.
Yes.
By the time you develop symptoms, now it's later in the game. It's not too late.
Right.
But it's definitely later in the game.
Wow. So even when I have my colonoscopy, if there are polyps detected, you could just take them out.
Right.
So there's no return. You don't have to come for some major surgery.
Right. Endoscopic removal. So I'll remove it inside with the scope, and then depending on how many polyps, what size they are, what the pathology shows, that would determine how soon you have to come back. Yes. And if we do a colonoscopy and it's just a routine screening and you have no polyps at all, then you're 10 years. You're good for 10 years.
Nice.
Come back for your 10-year
Yes. I got my 10-year. Like, come back in 10 years. Like, yay. Are there any myths that you could debunk about GI health or cancer that you haven't already discussed?
Some people seem to think that if they come in and they get checked, they almost treat it as if we're planting a cancer there. Like, they will say, I was okay.
Yes.
Until
yes.
I know, it's crazy as that sounds. I was
like, you
okay.
gave me cancer.
Yes. I was okay until you did this procedure, until this happened. No, you were not okay.
Yes.
You just discovered it.
Exactly.
And so, just come.
Yes. Okay. That's a great myth. Yes. That needs to be debunked, because I did not plant cancer inside.
I just discovered it, and now we're going to treat it.
Yes. Okay. So what are some of the habits that you believe people can change now to dramatically improve our good health?
Right. So there are some things that can be done. Obviously, smoking is not good for anything.
Right.
It does increase your risk of colon cancers and a lot of other different cancers as well. Changes in our diet, increasing the fiber in our diet, increasing, vegetables, that sort of thing, being active.
Yeah.
And then knowing your family history.
Okay.
Which is big. A lot of times, especially back in the day, if somebody had something, some people feel a lot of shame if they're diagnosed with cancer, and so they don't say anything. You'll have family members that die, and then you learn after they die that they died of cancer. So sharing that information with your family, knowing your family history. So I have a family history of colon cancer, so that means I need to be screened more often than someone who's of average risk. So I am high risk just based on my family history. So knowing that family history, talking, being open, and if you are diagnosed with something, sharing that information, not being ashamed, not hiding it, sharing that information, because that will help then your family.
Yes. So you and I talked some months back when I was releasing my book. And I remember you talking about you wanting to put a book out there.
Yes.
Can you tell us about what you want that book to say, to how to reach people through you writing that book? So what is it about?
So the book is about being a good patient or a model patient, like how to be the best patient when you come to the doctor.
Okay.
So I want my patients, I love it when my patients are educated. Again, don't bring me Dr. Google.
Yes.
But I mean, educated, asking questions. I'm not offended when you ask questions. I want you to ask questions. For instance, I had a friend whose husband was diagnosed with cancer, and they were going to have their first visit with the oncologist.
Yes.
And I sat down and I wrote out a number of questions for her to ask. I want you to ask the oncologist.
Nice.
What is this diagnosis? What is the prognosis? Meaning, what's the survival rate? What do we need to do? What are the options? And so I want you to go in armed with questions so that you can get the most out of your visits, because obviously the visits are, the time is limited, so you want to make the most of that time.
Yes.
Bringing your medications with you, bringing a list of your medicines. I'll have a patient, she looks like an airline stewardess when she comes in. She will bring
Got this
a
whole
suitcase. But I love that because then
Yes.
I know what she has. We lay everything out and I'm like, this and this is the same. You need to get rid of this. This is outdated. Or you're taking this and this. You don't need both of these.
Okay.
But to, just be educated. Like if you come to the doctor, you can't come and say, I don't know what I'm taking.
Yes.
Because if you don't know, I don't know.
Yes.
Help me help you.
Yes.
Help me help you.
That's right.
So those sorts of things, being ready, like preparing for your visit.
Yeah.
So, asking your family about history, knowing your medication. You don't have to physically bring in your medicine, but bring in a list.
Yeah.
Or know what you're taking, the dose. All of those things help us get through the visit and help you get the most out of your visits.
Yes.
We'll have sometimes patients will come in and I'll say, hello, Miss Tracy, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
How can I help you? What are you here for today? And
then
they'll snap back, they'll either say, I don't know, or they'll say, you have my chart.
Yeah.
You tell me.
It's like, let's have a conversation. Yes.
So I want to write just a really helpful, almost like a how-to
guideline.
Yeah. For smarties, not for dummies, for smarties.
But it sounds so simple, but so important, because when we go to the doctor, a lot of times we don't know what to ask. We don't know what to say, but having a guideline, a book to just spell out what things you need to know, what things you need to bring, what things you need to ask, those things are so helpful. So I think that book is going to be a great help for so many people. So I'm excited for that book to come. So you also have another book that you co-authored with your sisters to preserve your shared story about growing up. So I want to talk about that book, but why was it important for you and your sisters to even tell that story?
Because we find out that our generation, they are just so surprised when we say, we picked cotton, we did this, and they're like, what?
Cannot believe it.
Yes. And so, we talk about it, we share these stories, we get together, and we know what happened, but we want the next generation and generation after that. I just think it's important to know where we came from, to know that they come from good stock. Strong people. I mean, my mother and my father, raised 19 children, without modern conveniences of, microwave,
amazing,
and running water and all of these things, just to know that they come from good stock and that you can do it. You can do whatever you want to do because you got this in you. So we just thought it was important to write that all down. And then there's just a lot of funny things in there. Some parts are sad and dramatic, but there's just a lot of love and a lot of funny stories as well.
What was your role in writing this story? You number 18
of 19
on the first book. It's already been released, and that's exciting. I can't wait to get it. But your chapter is chapter 18.
Yes.
So what was your role in co-authoring that book?
Some of our siblings have passed away. So one role was to write my own story, which was very hard.
I know.
And then to help write the stories of the siblings that are not here to tell, but to try and write it in their voice, because we know all of these stories. I wrote Sharon's chapter 19.
Okay.
And so she was a baby. Most of us were born at home with the help of a midwife. I was actually born in a little clinic in Cleveland, Mississippi. And so I always joke like, okay, I was destined to be in a hospital, but who knew that it would be as a doctor?
Right.
And then Sharon was born in the car on the way to the hospital. And I think her story is very good, not just because I wrote it.
Right.
But I just think it's really good just going through, because Mom was very sick when she had her. And then after delivery, usually the mom feels better, the baby is out.
Yes.
But she did not feel better, and she actually had to stay at the hospital. and she was at the hospital for about 2 months because that's when she was discovered
Wow.
that she had a bowel obstruction from colon cancer.
Wow.
So she would have been 43 years old, just delivered a baby, and now she's very sick, and she had to send little baby Sharon home with my siblings for 2 months while she languished in the hospital and eventually got better.
Wow. So that's Sharon's story.
Yes.
It makes me want to just read it now. Like, how did she feel having to send her baby home just so she could deal with cancer? I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm excited for the book. Again, congratulations
Thank you.
on this accomplishment. That's huge. Some challenges I know from writing my story. What were some of your challenges in writing your story?
So one of the biggest challenges is that there are a lot of us and a lot of moving pieces.
Yes.
So you have 8 people and we are all telling a story. Like, we know the stories, but we're telling them from different vantage points.
That's right, yeah.
So which makes it interesting on the one hand, but the other hand, like, it's all got to come together.
Yeah.
So that's one, just so many voices, blending all of those voices, getting everybody's stories, and then getting together on the stories of the siblings that are not there, because
Yes.
I remember something one way, you remember it another way. And so I think somewhere in the book, I'm like, well, this is my recollection
That's right.
of how this happened.
Yes. And you don't change your rendition of the story. You just say, this is how, because like we talked about earlier, you can be in the same place, raised in the same house, but have completely different experiences. So were there arguments back and forth with your sister's sibling rivalry about?
There were discussions.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Lots of discussions.
But you got through it.
Yes.
Did it bring you guys closer?
I really think it did, because we were doing weekly. I mean, we're pretty close anyway. We get together a lot. We're very intentional, at least twice a year, that, everybody will come into town. We get together. We've stayed downtown Chicago.
Yes.
We have siblings come from Minnesota, Florida. I came from Georgia, Indiana. So we just, so we're already doing that. But during the process of writing the book, we would do at least once weekly, and sometimes more than once weekly, Zoom meetings.
Nice.
Just pulling everybody in there. And it was just such a beautiful time, laughing, joking, telling and retelling these stories, and again, trying to put everything together. So the name of the book is The Wiley Chronicles, and it is available right now, as a couple of days ago, on Amazon.
I was out there, and it says it's going to be available soon. And then I think a couple of days later, I went out there, and it's like, it's available on Amazon.
Yes.
But I'm going to have the links available in the show notes to lead people to go and purchase the book. What does that mean to have a physical copy of your book with your name on it?
It's very exciting. It's rewarding. We've been talking about doing it for years, and then we actually started on it, I think, in March or April of 25.
Yeah, nice.
And so I don't think that's a long time. I think we've done a ton of work in a short period of time.
Me too.
And again, I think because the stories were there, it was just a matter of getting everything on paper.
Yes.
But I feel like it's a big accomplishment.
I feel like that too, because for this year to be when you started it, and then collaborating with other people on writing and telling the story, and to have it in print now, that's amazing. That's amazing. So congratulations on becoming an author or co-author of the book, and then for your own medical book to be coming out soon.
Yes.
So if your parents could hold that Wiley Chronicle in their hands, what do you think that they would say?
I think they'd laugh. I think I mean, again, so there are, some parts that, are, somewhat heart-wrenching, but I think they would be proud. I think that we've represented well.
Yes, I think
the story.
Yes.
Our many, many stories, again, just sort of blending them together like a patchwork quilt.
Nice, nice. What legacy do you hope to leave, not just in medicine, but in your family and your community?
I would hope to leave a legacy of, love, of kindness.
Yeah.
I really want to be remembered for that, for just, going out of the way. That's just my personality. connections, that sort of thing. I remember we used to go skiing in Michigan when we lived in Chicago, which is just crazy to come from Mississippi and then like we're going skiing every year.
Yeah.
But we would go skiing, and even before everybody had like cell phones and all of these things, I would write down everybody's names, write down their license plate numbers, because we'd be in multiple cars, and it was important for us to stay connected. That was me. I just
Wow.
wanted us to stay connected. I didn't want anybody to get lost. And if we stopped at a rest stop, then I'm like, who's missing? Who's not
You
here?
did
Let's
a
wait
head
for them.
count.
Yes. And
Wow.
I've always felt like I just want to keep people connected, and
Yes.
that's like a big thing for me.
Yes. And then going back to medicine, when you leave the room, what do you hope your patients say about you?
I hope that they will say that I help them, and I really do. I really try to go out of my way to help. I'll have patients that will come in and tell me about something that has nothing to do with the GI tract. But okay, let's get you to the right person.
Yes.
Let's put you in touch with this. I had a patient once, she was blind, and she took my hand, and I told people that, and they laughed. She took my hand and she says, "I'm having a problem right here." I said, "Yes, ma'am." Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Like, this is out of my purview, but yes, ma'am, I am a doctor. I am not the doctor for that, but I am a doctor, and I'm going to get you help. So I hope that that's what they will say, that I've done everything. I don't do like VIP treatment. I try to treat all of my patients the same. I try to give all of my patients the best care, so that when we do have somebody who comes in who's a VIP, you're going to get the best care, because everybody I see, I'm doing my best. And that's what I want them to leave with, that I did my best for them.
Because it seems like you're so soft-spoken and you have such a great bedside manner, which is what we all want in a doctor. We want to feel like we're seen and we're heard and we are being helped. Because sometimes we're just so nervous, and all you hear is just, the Charlie Brown womp
That's
womp.
what it sounds like.
And that's what it sounds like. But when you have that compassion and you really want to help, we could feel that. And you can also feel when a doctor is cold and a doctor is, just by the book. But when you can just bring that human side, those human emotions out, it just makes us feel so much calmer and at peace. And I'm sure you feel the same way. You have to go to the doctors too.
Yes.
So
I do.
It's relatable. Like, how you want to feel as a patient. So I'm just happy to see that you are that doctor. And then that's what you want your patients to say about you after you leave the room, is that, oh my God, I felt so like I was seen and I was heard and I was helped. What would people be surprised to learn about you?
First of all, they'd be very surprised to know that I'm from a huge family.
Yes.
That's one thing. And then, that there are no steps, no halves, no twins, that, just all single births. I think that would be surprising. And then that there are other sides. I like to sing. I love to dance. I love hosting. I like being silly.
Yes. We were just at breakfast and I told Michaela, or somebody I told, that you sang at my mom's funeral. And then people were like, Thelma sings, and she sings really, really well. Do you sing a lot? Do you still sing?
I'm actually in a band. I think they'd be surprised about that.
What?
Yes.
So you're a singer in the band?
Yes.
And this is a group that you get together, you practice and you rehearse and you do gigs
other
and
medical people. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I think they'd be surprised about that.
So is that anywhere?
Don't look for any film. No.
So you do this in Carrollton?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I want to see this in video. I have to.
Don't look. No.
So for you, Thelma, what does healing mean to you beyond the physical body?
Beyond, so that's interesting that you would ask that, because it starts with the physical body, but it's everything. It's a healing of your mind, it's your emotions, because you can't separate.
Yeah.
You can't separate those things.
Yeah.
And so even when I have to give somebody a bad diagnosis, I still want them to know that they're not alone.
Yes.
That no matter what stage, this cancer is in, if it's a cancer diagnosis, and sometimes it's not cancer, it may be that you have Crohn's disease, some, chronic inflammatory bowel disease that you're going to have all of your life.
Yeah.
But I still, want them to feel like they're getting everything. Like,
yes.
We're talking. You'd be surprised how much counseling I do, in a session, and not just about medicine, just whatever is going on in my patients' lives.
Yes.
And they feel comfortable sharing things, maybe sometimes too comfortable.
Right.
But
yeah.
I mean, they share a lot of things, and I don't cut them off. And sometimes I'm like,
yes.
okay, really?
yes.
All right. And then let's get back around to where
Right,
you're. But I mean, but it's the whole thing, because it's a whole person.
Yes.
And so I can't just separate out your stomach, your liver, your colon. That's in your body, and that's a part of who you are, and that's your spirit, your soul. All of that is together. So I just want them to feel that all of that is being addressed, and that they are being seen and treated as a whole person. And that, that does help with it. This is, this helps with the healing too.
Yeah. And then stress, we are all under so much stress.
Yes.
And stress can cause so many different chronic illnesses.
Absolutely.
And we don't realize that. So even when you talk about those things, how you can de-stress and how you can create coping mechanisms to help you deal with the stresses of life, those things are important. Even when I'm talking to clients, they don't realize like how dehydration, it affects their mental, like brain fog, or
absolutely.
So sometimes even talking to people, you get to learn a lot about them just by just basic conversation that could help them over the long term.
Yes.
So if you could go back to your younger self, what would you say to her?
I'd probably tell her to have a little more confidence out of the gate. I was very shy and, like you said, very soft-spoken, and really didn't realize there was so much that my mother had taught me, and a lot of lessons from my father as well.
Yeah.
But so much that my mother had taught me before we got to Chicago. Like, I could write and tie my shoes, and I could do a lot of things that, even though we started school in the middle of the school year, I was very advanced in my second grade class.
Wow.
To the point that I would finish my lessons early, and I always got to work on the blackboard, whatever those little boards were that, make the little boards. It's spring. I always got to help with those projects, of course, that got me the name as teacher's pet, but it was because I was done with my work.
Yes.
And I was done with my work because I already had a basis. I already had a foundation. And that came from my mother, who only went to the 6th grade, but education was so important to her that I had, and not just me, but we had such a great foundation that even coming from rural Mississippi to, Chicago, that I was advanced, and then that just continued. But I mean, I was a little nervous about it, and by the time I got to about, probably high school, I started realizing that, that I was just as smart, and the people around me, and as that continued with my education, I felt like I belong here.
Yes,
I belong.
That's right.
In this university
claiming your
class.
place in the world. Yes,
here in this medical school class.
Yes.
I belong here. I do.
Were there any challenges that you faced going to medical school where you even said, I can't do this, I got to stop?
The biggest challenge was at the end of the year. You sit with your counselor before graduation from college, and that at that late time, they go through all of your credits to make sure that you have all the credits you need to graduate. Well, my counselor, I was missing, I don't know, 1 credit, 2 credits, something. And then she says, well, you're going to have to make this up, and the class is offered this summer. And I said, I can't be here this summer. And she's like, well, you have to, because you're missing this one class and it's only offered over the summer. And I said, no, I have plans. And so she's like, what are your plans? And I remember her. She was, I called her the dragon lady. So back then, everybody was smoking. You're smoking inside.
Yes.
And she sat there with these long red nails, smoking her cigarette. And she was looking at me like, little girl, what plans could you possibly have? And I said, I've been accepted to medical school, and we start orientation in July. So therefore, I cannot be here taking a class over this summer because I will be at the University of Illinois. And she was like, no, you'll be here. You need these. And so I said, you're going to have to waive these credits. I didn't even know that was a thing. And I said, you're going to have to waive these credits or do whatever. I said, and I put it back on her. I said, I don't know what you're going to do about this.
So
This is your problem. You're my counselor. She had been my counselor my entire college career. Like, you slipped up, lady.
Yes.
Not me.
Yes.
I did. And I said, I don't know what you're going to do about this, but I promise you that in July, I will be starting orientation for medical school. And so she's just sitting there puffing on her cigarettes, and she was just like, well, we'll see. And like a day or two later, she told me that they were going to waive it's like 1 hour, 1 credit.
Yes.
She said I didn't know that was a thing.
I
made it up.
Yes.
I did. I invented it, and I made it her problem.
Yes.
Because
And you started medical school in July.
I did.
Good job.
Yes, I did.
Good job. Listening to you, Dr. Wiley, I'm reminded that becoming isn't about escaping where you came from. It's about carrying it with intention. And even being amongst many doesn't mean you were lost. You might have been a little quiet. You ever come out of that shell?
You would be surprised.
I think that at even that moment you told your counselor, you got to figure this out. Yeah. That's your problem. That was probably your moment you came out of that shell. Like, definitely. I can't be quiet about this.
I cannot.
So see, it's those things that happen in life that changes who you are or how you see yourself. And what makes you stand up and say, I deserve a space in this world. Yes. You will not take that away from me. Absolutely. You can take your cigarette and your red nails. But thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And I appreciate you taking the time. I'm looking forward to reading your book. And then I'm looking forward to your upcoming book. Do you have any idea when that book is going to be published?
Well, let's see. Now that we're recording this, I'm going to put it out.
Yes, it's like that prompts you to put it out there.
By summer.
Yes, because we need that. We need that guideline. We need to know what to do. We need that. I really appreciate you joining me on The Rise.
Thank you so much for having me. And I do want to say I'm very proud of you.
You are.
I
Thank
am proud
you.
of you for being an author and for starting your podcast. We've talked about it.
Yes.
You did it.
Yes. Yay. And thank you for your support. And I'm going to be supporting your book and your book tour. You have anything upcoming regarding promoting your book?
Not yet. I'm going to leave that to my other sister.
Yes.
Do the marketing and all of that.
Yes. And we'll be following along to just follow you on your journey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Thelma's story tells us that, once again, being one of many doesn't mean being lost. That growing up with little space can teach you how to make room for others. That faith learned at home can guide hands in the examination room. And that healing doesn't always start with medicine. It often starts with memory. Through Thelma's work as a physician and educator, and now a co-author alongside her sisters, Thelma reminds us that our stories matter. Our bodies matter. Our health matters. And the people who raised us, even when they didn't have much, gave us more than what we sometimes realize. The Wiley Chronicles is a shared legacy, but today we honored one voice within that chorus, a woman who listened closely, learned deeply, and chose a life of service. If you are one of many, if you come from a big family, a complicated past, or a place that the world doesn't always celebrate, let this be your reminder. You don't have to be the loudest to be called. You just have to be willing. Thank you for listening. And remember, the journey to healing isn't a straight climb, but every step forward matters. So wherever you are on your journey, feel it, face it. Trust that something greater is always waiting on the other side. Thank you for giving yourself the gift of exploring what it really means to survive, to heal, and to rise. Let's take this journey, keep traveling, and rise together.
I'm touching the sky, not my trauma, not my chains. Turn the struggle into gains. Every step I rise again. Watch me fly